Halloween has come and gone. This was supposed to be my Halloween video, but time management got the better of me. I wanted to create a series of renders that was inspired by the Avengers Project. You know, the one where we see heroes fallen, their weapons and symbols shattered and broken, scattered across the ground. A quiet image that somehow said everything. Regardless of what you think about the game itself, this teaser was insanely cool, and I wanted to do the same, but for Slayers. For this project, I chose Jason, Pennywise, Freddy Krueger, and Jigsaw. The goal was to capture this eerie sense of loss, where even though these monsters have fallen, the world doesn't quite feel safe yet. Like the evil isn't fully gone, just waiting and lingering. I started off gathering references in this free tool called PureRef, where I drop every image, every idea, and keep building on it as I go. For my workflow, I use Maya, Substance Painter for texturing, and Unreal Engine for the final render. But regardless of what tools I use, the fundamentals stay the same. Lighting, compositing, texturing, modeling, those are universal. I began with Jason's iconic hockey mask. To speed things up, I started with the Maya's default humanoid, just selecting the face area and used that for the base of my sculpt. From there, I shaped it into a mask, carved out holes, and modeled the straps and bolts that hold it together. Once the UV was ready, I jumped into Substance Painter. I like to start off my texturing with real reference colors, like literally color picking just from the photo itself, and tweaking them until they just feel right. To add realism, I use noise maps to break up the surface, adding subtle height and normal variation, and then painting on some dirt, grime, and scratches. Each layer with its own story and its own feel. That's what to me brings textures to life. Back in Maya, I simulated the straps so they'd rest naturally on the terrain, and then took everything to Unreal Engine. I like to start by setting my cameras first, compose the frame, and only then start building the scene around it. For lighting, I kept things simple. 3 lights in total. A warm orange one in the background to give this eerie glow, a key light for the mask itself, and a rim light that separates it from the shadows. I like to tweak the temperature of the lights rather than the color itself. It gives more finer control and more realistic gradients. Simplest tip of all for lighting, just turn on and off your lights just to see what they're doing. This can make a massive difference and eliminate any lights that do nothing basically, or add lights where shadows are just too dark. Finally, a small camera move, and that's Jason. The next was Pennywise. The first image that came to mind was the paper boat scene. So I rewatched this sequence, took a few still shots, and added them straight into my PureRef board. Modeling the sewer itself was simple, a basic shape in Maya, then sculpted the road and grass a bit. Even though a road might look super flat, realistically that doesn't make sense. There's gonna be some deformation. So I sculpted that out to break up the surface for it to not be super flat. This time I skipped Substance Painter and relied more on Megascans for materials like asphalt, grass, and concrete. I used texture sets rather than UDIMs to separate my objects and material. I started off with the same as Jason, placing 2 cameras this time and exploring different compositions, but I finally stuck with the first one I made, adding foliage only to what the camera sees so there's no wasted resources. For lighting, I used an IES profile to mimic a street lamp. These simple textures simulate real-world light fall-off. It's a cheat code that is so cool and every lighting artist should know about. Then came decals, my secret weapon to Unreal Engine, for things like dirt, leaks, and grimes on the asphalt. A few pebbles and rocks scattered in, and it all started to feel grounded. For the main subject itself, I modeled a balloon next, adding some simple cloth physics and watched it drift away slightly, with the final goal still in mind. But something still felt off. The scene wasn't final yet. So I decided to add Pennywise gloves and animate a fake car light passing by. Just one moving light, there's no actual car passing by. The subtle flash of the light added motion, and a gust of wind that pushed the glove away slightly, which was hand animated. And I know it's rough, I'm not an animator, but this is what I could do. But it was a simple trick. These small changes really brought the scene to life and elevated it. And that's the final shot. Next up, Freddy Krueger. I went back to Maya, used the exact same humanoid, cut off the hand this time, modeled his gloves around it, the blades, the fabric, all of it. And I already had a composition in mind for this shot. I knew I was going to rely on depth of field a lot this time. A sharp focus on the glove while keeping everything else soft. Once the glove was modeled, I brought it into Substance Painter and I textured it similar to Jason, adding layers of dirt, metalware, and fabric scratches. Back in Maya, I blocked out the entire environment using my main reference, this iconic shot. Since I knew depth of field would carry this shot, I didn't want to waste time detailing the background. Just some simple pipes and tanks, just using sweep mesh from Maya. In Unreal Engine, I just threw on some Quixel materials, and then used some decal to add some imperfections to them. For lighting, I used a single furnace style key light and 2 fill lights to keep the gloves visible, but still moody and eerie. A few blood decals for story context, and we're done. That's Freddy's fall. Finally, Jigsaw. I found this tricycle model on Sketchfab. It was fairly low poly, so I had to clean it up, added bevels, fixed the topology, turned it into a clean high poly version of the model. Using references from the original scene, I modeled the walls and duplicated them across. In Unreal Engine, using concrete materials and adding emissive strips where needed, and chains from the movies that added hints to the environment story. To fit the fallen theme, I broke the tricycle apart, worn, toppled, lifeless. I relied mostly on emissive lighting to shape the mood, and one main light to catch the subject, then added a bit of blood using decals to tie it all together. Finally, a subtle camera move, a touch of chromatic aberration to make the shot feel alive, even in its stillness. Once all the shots were done, I stitched them together with color grading and voiceovers, giving the entire sequence a consistent tone and flow. This was a really fun project to work on. Even though I missed Halloween, I wanted to finish this and share it with you guys. The recent support on this channel has been insane. We're at 45 subs, which might not sound like much in this massive YouTube's ocean, but to me it means everything. It means people care enough to stop, watch, and maybe even learn something. So if you like this project, check out my other videos and consider subscribing. I'm still aiming for 1,000 subs by the end of the year, and yeah, it might not happen, but hey, shoot for the stars, right?